Hey, Adrenaline Dragon, how you doing? Alright, well, welcome to the stream tonight, everybody. It's really nice to see you. As it said in the title, I'm going to be playing through where I finished last time, which was the end of Chapter 3 on Dispatch. We're going to have a lot of fun. Hopefully, they decide to cooperate a little better this time. They definitely irritated me last time. Sorry about that. Need to make some minor adjustments to my settings here. That's alright with me, Adrenaline Dragon. Go ahead and lurk all you like. Thank you. It's nice to see you, and thank you for coming to my stream. Alright. So if anybody needs a little update from the last time. Yes, actually it ended up being my fault mostly because I didn't run the configuration on OBS, so I was running with all sorts of very wrong settings on my browser and for OBS to stream. So once I ran the configuration, everything got a lot better. It is purring. I play that when during the opening and just chatting. It's a cat's purring, because I'm a snow leopard. It's all right. All right. So, no, unfortunately, I don't have a motorbike. Although I would like to have one, I don't think that it would be very good for my health. Mm. Let's see here. Seem to be having a little bit of difficulty here. There we go. Sorry about that. Alright, so, like I said, we are going to be playing Dispatch again. And continuing on from chapter 4. And in case you need a replay, last time the team wasn't doing so well. Managed to keep Invisigal on the team, but we had to get rid of the Bat Boy, unfortunately, because I hesitated for too long until he was picked for me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have picked him, probably. So, starting with Chapter 4. They just released the new chapters here today, and it's pretty great. I think the game is complete now, so we won't have to wait. Oh, this isn't starting. Oh, maybe it is. Okay. Thought she was hurt. Apparently she's having a good time.
Fuck.
Yes, indeed. I wasn't expecting it to start that way.
Fuck.
And of course, he is continuing to be classy, our main protagonist here. Sorry. Again, I didn't know that was going to start that way. I would have given a warning if I did.
No, I regret it. That's for sure.
A good old...
Oh my god.
Nice.
We pulled the best pranks. You have no idea what a dummy.
She was tight with Sona. Never understood why. But then again, I don't
That's
know
a
a whole
bit
lot about
mean.
demonic shit. That's a thing, right? Like Richie stuff. If I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, best to keep an eye on her. The problem with only cutting one of them is now you gotta deal with their pissy friends poisoning the rest of the team.
Nah,
Come on, Chase. It's harmless. Who doesn't love an office prank?
Me, motherfucker.
That's right.
Don't even think about it. That's why I would've cut them all. Starting with that asshole. Why's she staring at you?
Why are you guys all mean
Don't
to
you got work to
Invisigal?
do?
It's
Don't
just
you got
not
some
fair.
dementia on set?
That one stung a little. Hey, Blazer's looking at backfilling your open spot with Phenomenon or Waterboy. You should think about who you'd want.
One of them is the poster boy of SDN and the other guy pukes water. What am I missing?
I'll take Waterboy.
We now go live to the 405 where an unusual scene is unfolding.
Oh my god, he got dumped, and he's just
Shit. He looks rough.
being a loser about it.
Construction, but because Phenomenon is simply
Not do that like that, please.
Sorry.
has the Southland's biggest hero office is incorrect, suicidal. Authorities are working
Hey, I was watching that. Oh, sorry.
Looks like there's no wrong answer.
Well, sometimes it's more about the person than the powers. Good thing, because it's the only reason anyone gave your sorry ass a job.
All right. It
Yeah,
wasn't that.
tell you what, I'll take Waterboy over Inama Man any day. At least Waterboy has a positive attitude,
Ready? We good out there?
and he doesn't do cocaine on shift.
You can talk, I can hear you.
Oh, we good. All you, Mecha Man.
In the Mecha Man suit already. That's awesome.
System power.
Though I have a feeling that it's not going to be working this soon.
Simple
Probably going to
locomotion.
explode or something.
Complex locomotion.
Levels are stable. We onto something, bro. This is it. This is gonna be it.
Let's try something fancy. Hello, Draken Hunter. How you
Look at that
doing?
move in a fight.
I've never not done this in a fight, Roy.
And just like I thought, it is going to explode. Yeah.
Oh!
It didn't explode, but definitely not going well. That's great to hear. I'm glad.
Rotopulse test.
And thank you for
7.
coming to join me for another stream.
No worries. We'll get there.
Royd, what is all this stuff?
Whole network expect me to process all the confiscated stuff. Cause we the bottom branch for SDN, we catch all kind of shit work, bro.
Did you just give me an up down?
We take one bad guy
Did you
stuff
just give me
and
an
use them
up
for catch the other bad guy. Only good thing, a lot of upgrade possibilities.
You ever jerk off in this thing?
You low, Vizzy.
I mean, obviously you have, right? I should really be asking how often.
Let's see.
Come on. I gotta work on
Definitely
this.
jerk off in this thing
All the time, actually.
Bro.
I like to bust after every big bust, you know, and I was pretty successful, so you can imagine.
Sounds like loads of fun.
She hitting on me?
You two got one weird energy going on, huh? Can you handle this HR violation some other place? I got work, yeah?
Robert was just leaving.
I can do this all day.
That's gonna be tough, because Blazer sent me to get you like half an hour ago, so...
Damn. She had a wet dream about him. I think that's what that was in the beginning.
Shit. Blazer, sorry. You know what? I can come back.
Oh no, don't worry.
I know, right? He has the
Tonight,
the
and they
best
posted
flat
address
line
yesterday.
delivery ever.
This isn't why you're here, but can you zip me up? It's not mine, by the way. They make me wear it, and it's back in a bag by midnight.
What is happening today?
What's that?
What's happening today? The thing you're going to.
SDN sponsoring a dinner gala thing. Radiant Valor, a night of triumph.
Why does that sound like a propaganda rally? There.
Thank you.
It mostly
Yeah.
is, really.
It does kind of sound like some sort of fascist-themed prom. What do you think? We're making alterations all morning.
No cause for alarm, but a little bit of your, areola is out. It's like a slight hue shift.
Oh.
I think he is,
I don't think
yes.
I've heard someone say areola out loud before.
It doesn't come up a ton now.
All right, for real now. How do I look? The breakup story is out, so I might be getting more attention than I'm comfortable with.
I think you look incredible.
Thanks. I was supposed to be going with him, but I don't
I
think
don't
he's
know
gonna
if
be
he's-
making it.
I think he is, actually.
Downtown branch
I
dropped
can't,
him. Indefinite suspension.
can't remember.
Is that your car?
I don't have a car.
That's gonna be a weird insurance claim.
I'd like for you to talk to him.
Me? Why me?
You're the pep talk guy. You've been through a transition.
I love
recently yourself.
Phenomena
I
Man
think he could use
acting
some
like a
perspective.
Like perspective to join the
whipped
Z-Team?
dog this entire
Chase
time.
mentioned it.
Yeah, the only candidates that make sense
Yo,
are him
Mr.
or
White,
Waterboy.
superheroes beyond.
And at the moment, it's close. Mostly, I'd like you to get him out of the parking lot. Oh, and tell
You
him
know,
to stop with
with
the
his
edible
Mecha Man,
agents.
he probably
He
could
keeps sending
cook
them, but
a
with
lot of
all melon.
That's disgusting. I'll see what I can do.
bet he's got some kind of industrial grade oven or something. Wow, this dude is not taking the
Hey,
breakup
Phenomena
well at
Man.
all.
How you doing, bud?
I have been better, Robert Robertson. The blonde blazer and I have ended our relationship.
Yeah, I heard about that. I'm sorry for your, your loss.
It's very abrupt. One moment we were savoring uni straight from the urchin. Next moment, I'm contemplating flying into the sun, absorbing all its energy and casting this planet into infinite darkness so that I never have to see her or anyone else ever again. Maybe then I would be free of the torment in my soul. And maybe then I could quiet my mind to these destructive thoughts.
I've been there. Last time I went through a breakup, I drank mezcal till I blacked out. When I came to, I was in a dark void surrounded by the smell of rot, and I was convinced I'd died and turned into a zombie. Turns out I passed out at a urinal and somebody threw me in a dumpster.
Thank you for sharing that. You
I
are
had
sad
passed
enough
out
to
and
understand.
somebody threw me in a dumpster.
Do you think there is someone else?
Fantastic.
Perhaps another lover could be the cause of all this. Maybe she met a person. An actual person. I am not a person, I just resemble one anatomically.
Dude, what
Look,
the
I don't
hell
think
are
there
you?
is, but even if there was, wouldn't that just make you feel worse?
I prefer when problems have solutions.
That's the thing, man. Phenomena. Man. Her feelings aren't a problem for you to solve. Blazer makes her own decisions, because that's what people do. She's her own person, and she decided she doesn't want to be with you.
Perhaps the fact that I am not a person is contributing to my confusion.
Yeah, listen, you know what, while we're at it, no more edible arrangements. They're just stinking up the break room.
It seems I have much to learn about people. Thank you. You've given me a great deal to think about.
Anytime. Well, actually, no, not anytime. Just sometimes. Occasionally. Barely any.
I
It
really
seems
am
the velocity
concerned
with
about
which I
this
set up
guy.
has shot shards of glass into your chest.
Well, shit.
Oh man. You know, he says he's not a
God.
person.
Didn't
but-
think taking a desk job would have me bleeding.
I know, that's what I'm asking. Like, what the hell is this guy?
What are you
It's a
doing
little
here?
concerning if he's not a
I had a dream
person.
last night that we were
Because he's
fucking.
acting like one a lot.
Usually I don't remember my dreams, but this one was pretty vivid.
Was it the one where I have a big dick in it?
Yeah, actually, you did.
I have that one too. So this is why you've been acting so weird all day.
I'm doing that thing where I imagine being with someone, you know? See how it feels, how it looks. You know, like trying on a dress.
You were there.
I could have been. I could be anywhere.
Wow, that
And you chose to be here.
definitely ruins everything.
I tried not to. I tried not to do that.
Don't worry about it, water boy.
Sound.
Bathrooms are
I
for
love
shitting
water boys
after your
so
first
much.
coffee and taking shrapnel out of your
He
chest.
might have the shittiest
Not for
superpower that's
whatever this
ever
is.
existed, but wow, is he
You
fun.
ruined this for me!
It's. I know. I know. My apologies.
I want him on my team. I want to send Waterboy out to fight evil monsters. I'll give you the choice. Come on. Yes, of course we're gonna feed the puppy.
You're a menace.
He's not a menace, he's a good boy. And he deserves all the baloney. I'm still so sad that I accidentally got rid of the bat guy.
Can't believe Sonar's gone. This is a load of shite.
He may have been a pervert, but he was our pervert.
Well, I'm glad you're still with us.
I am glad as well. Strange.
Help us get this stuff out of the dorm, yeah? You guys do that kind of stuff, right?
Oh my god. You called the superhero dispatch center to help you move out of your apartment. Pour one for Sonar. I know. Rest in peace. Yeah, I'll send this guy.
I've been hearing a lot about some guy named Chad. I think he's trying to summon a demon.
Wait, wasn't there a cult of Chad?
Chad? Yeah.
Cult of Chad. Alright. So, do I send somebody to join the cult, or do I send Malevola to...
Malevola, do you know where this church is
You
located?
know what? I'm gonna
You can take a
break it
look
up
and-
this time.
Oh, not interested.
Off to cutting sauna? No, you're on your own.
Oh, you're gonna be a dick, aren't you?
Maybe we send someone in, have them pretend to be interested in joining the cult.
I'll take this one.
You got good taste.
Fine.
Prism, have you finished the book I lent you?
Girl, I'm a slow reader, alright? Besides, you promised fairy sex, and so far...
It has to build.
Return peace to the football game using your fists. Kinky.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Coop, can I borrow your mask? I got a date tonight at this masquerade thingy.
You may not.
See, this is why people think you're a bitch.
You're braver than I thought. Fine. Return
So if
tomorrow morning.
you would have kept
or I will cut out your tongue.
Sonar... Yeah, apparently.
Say less, baby.
But then again, I'm not sure, because maybe she would have been pissed off if I got rid of Coop as well. Maybe she was just never going to take that. I want us to drink a blue liquid from a chalice as of loyalty. Test. Well, I think I can do any of the three of these, honestly. Power through it. Just drink it. You'll be fine. Oh shit. Oh, that's not what I thought power through it was going to be. Wow. I really messed that up.
Where the hell'd you go? Job's not finished. Dude, we need you to bring everything up to our new place.
Oh, you guys are assholes.
Yeah?
Go to me way.
I'm already going this way. Yeah.
I really can't believe that I'm actually helping them to move out of their dorm room.
Hey, this is Jason from Nostalgia Alley. Someone just dropped off a box of games with a note saying there's a bomb inside one of them. Can you send someone?
Oh, let's see.
Feeling fresh. Heading over.
Make some room, everybody. Clear the way.
Bad bitches coming through.
We need you to send somebody else. This is too much.
We're out of somebody's. You're gonna have to make do.
You sound like my first manager. I
All
fired
right.
his ass.
So,
This is fucking bullshit.
got the brawl at the football game.
Yeah, y'all, I can barely even be in one place.
It's clear that cutting sonar has left
Let's
us
see
vulnerable.
here. What
Can't
should I
believe
do
I'm
with
saying
this
but
guy?
Coop has a point.
Noted. Can you just hang in there a little longer? I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, well, Kama's a fucking bitch.
Yeah,
huh,
a lot of the games do have kind of a railroading problem, but I'd probably have to do another playthrough to figure out if that was an actual full stop or if they would have gotten... if they would have given me or done the job if I got rid of Coop instead. You know what? You're dumb as a brick, so I'm going to give you 1 intellect. There. Now you have 2. Which game is hiding the bomb? It can't be that easy, right? Like, I want to pick Man Bomb. Because why would the bomb not be in there? But it can't possibly be that easy, right? Or am I overthinking this? You know what? I'm gonna go with Man Bomber. Of course it's not that easy. I mean, that is also a distinct possibility. Oh, wait. Incinerate the bomb and game.
So you finally noticed. I'm perfect.
I still hate you the most. I only wish bad things for you. Turns out there actually was a bomb. How weird.
On fuego.
Alright, Prism. Let's see here. know what? I'm just gonna keep building you along the charisma and intellect. And for flambe... Alright. You know, the only one I have that actually has good amount of vigor. And I wish I still had Bat Boy. Yeah, I'll up your vigor. %. Okay.
Hey, fit like a glove.
I don't have a whole lot of people that can go.
The CEO of Brand Tech, Milman Brandt, hasn't been seen for days, and the board
Gonna
is
go
asking
investigate.
Steve to do a wellness check.
CEO.
At least I was here, considering.
In a weird way, I'm
he
kind of
actually
hoping
fucking knows
Flambe has some character
Well,
growth,
he's not,
like
so we're going to have
Invisigal
to go
did.
check on
you know?
the assholes
It might.
ourselves.
You handle this.
Might.
One.
I mean,
Takes an asshole to know an asshole.
despite the fact that he's a major douchebag, he wasn't even on the list of people that I could have gotten rid of, so they must have something picked out for him, right? And you know who'd be perfect for this job? The fucking Bat guy. Investigate the CEO's home, so that's intellect. Be ready to talk him down. It's charisma. I'm not sure what administer immediate medical attention, if needed, would be. You know what?
Close
I'm
your
gonna
eyes.
add mobility
You're
to
not
that.
gonna like
Maybe
what you
it's
see
mobility.
anyway.
Hey, Ray here. We got another teardown for you. Mind coming down and doing some demo?
Sure. Why not?
Solid.
Are you being an asshole, Malevola?
On it.
I'm not a homunculus. Who the fuck said that?
I think I'm done here.
You're clocking out early?
Cut me if you want, but I'm out.
It is kind of... It's a good, a good bit of storytelling to make it feel like that person, you know, actually made a difference. Oh man, I am not doing well this chapter. I'm not doing very good at all, am I?
Oh, I'ma stay winning.
It's really making me want to do another playthrough of this to see what happens if you go the other route.
Watch me burn.
On the move. I say, we let him fight it out.
Catch as many of the looters as possible. Detain the miners, but do not use force.
Whatever you say. Sounds like a challenge. I accept.
Cleared everyone out already, but someone called in a bomb threat. In one of the theaters. Awesome. Identify and disarm
We
the
needed
bomb.
another backup dancer. So.
Oh, look at that. Okay, okay. Nice.
Helping people is actually really good. Unless it's an annoying person. Then it fucking sucks.
Oh, come on.
Fine.
Oh, this isn't going to go well for me, no matter what I choose.
Have rocks for brains.
Phenomemon's still on the 405, just past him. He's gone from shaking his fist at cars to
Alright,
simply directing.
which movie theater should we search
Well, at least he's
first?
putting his
Fly Man, Altered
pain
Egos,
to
or Standing
use.
Alive?
I had no idea Blazer was such a heartbreaker.
Is that surprising?
I'm just impressed. Didn't think she had it in her.
Maybe you shouldn't be so quick to judge people.
Gross. You sound just like her.
You calling me a heartbreaker?
In your dreams.
I have no idea. Hey, Test, how you doing? Thank you for joining me.
No contest.
Alright. So yeah, the superheroes are being a little pissy about the fact that last episode I got rid of that boy, even though it wasn't my fault. And they're being mean about it. Oh, you know what? Up your mobility.
Ready, set, fire.
Things are definitely getting heated.
I know.
Let's do some Hackerman stuff. Let's hack it. I like that all of these ones have... Oh god.
Are you serious?
Oh. I don't know how to do this. Alright, did one of them.
No, no, no!
Alrighty then. I'm not doing very well at this at all.
Oh, come on. Shit.
Alright, well, that sucked.
Ah, shake it off. Shake it off. I think I'm gonna use me head.
That's not good. Alright. I am really not doing well this time, guys. In fact, I'm kind of sucking at this. 85%. Oh.
Oh, so close.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate description of this entire episode right now.
Comic Pug. We got a gift of some Mega Man replicas, but with all the bomb threats going on, we just want to be sure.
Oh, come on. You couldn't give me that one.
Like, that could have gone a lot worse.
Groovy. Call me a BOGO bitch.
What do you mean he got away? You better find him, man.
Interesting. Still
Alright,
on the clock.
let's
so,
see this.
Okay.
I'm not doing very well. This is, this ain't going good at all. Which Mecha Man contains the bomb? Probably Mecha Man Blue. That would be mine, right? Right now. Astral? Oh. Well, I'm just going to pick every one until... Jump on it. Remove its controls. Oh, at least I got the good mobility with that one, huh?
For this.
Oh, hey, their synergy went up.
On
Good.
fuego.
Alright, yes.
Nice.
And that's lunch. Thank fuck.
Ugh, great. I'ma drink my spicy water.
Oh, man, that sucked. That was definitely not great. Oh, I'm sorry.
Still working on that? Aren't these the best?
They
I
put
love
my,
the green ones. The
phone on
the
silent.
green do.
Probably should have done
All
that already.
yours. Take the whole thing if you want.
Awesome. My lucky day. I know what's for lunch or dinner. Probably. Now. Sorry, for interrupting your meeting with Invisa.
Oh, god damn it. You threw my noodles away? My initials were literally on the box and everything. Fuck!
I don't read things. Sometimes it's different, like a logo, but it's probably still good.
I don't want the fucking trash noodles, wet fart boy.
Whoa, what are you doing?
Whatever, it was an
Wet
accident.
fart
Just
boy?
aim your dick up and water piss it off. That's not... You...
I'm gonna go rinse off.
Wow, that was,
Would you like to have to walk around work the rest of the day with shit all over you?
I don't know, I don't think about that, because it won't happen. Because I'm not a fucking idiot food thrower awayer.
It was an accident. You don't have to be a bully about
see,
it.
this is why...
In your report?
What, you're gonna snitch on me? I mean, motherfucker.
This is why I don't like him at all. He's such
You're
a
just being a
douchebag.
soft bitch about it. Bully. How am I being a bully?
Spaghetti. Let's do it.
In
Oh, wow, I wasn't
Oh, hi, Madman.
to go straight.
Thank you for showing
It's extra.
coming.
Sorry.
I really appreciate it.
You're gonna choke on this fucking
Hey, Robert, could you...
spaghetti.
Did you eat my lunch? Why would you do that?
I don't want to be a snitch, but flambe...
Sounds really good right now. A ginger ale.
I mean,
A
look-
ginger ale does sound
Really?
pretty good, doesn't
Yes.
Well, if you're gonna eat it, I wish
say
more
he's
of
a
it got
wet
into your
fart
mouth.
boy.
Go get cleaned up, then clean this.
This game is pretty amazing.
BLT from
I'm
John
having a lot of fun with it, even if this shift isn't going very well for me.
Okay, whatever, Liz. Listen, Robert. Jesus. Anyway, you talked to Chase. Who's it gonna
I
be?
mean, he's not very good at being a dick, but that doesn't stop him from being a dick, right?
For now, yeah. Obviously, we can revisit it, but Waterboy is already a trainee, sorta, and you already know Phenomena Man got cut by DTLA. Thanks for getting him out of the parking lot, by the way. It might also help to get You know, an actual good person on your team, which I'm positive both of them are.
Okay, before this makes a choice for me, the choice was between actually getting Waterboy on my team or getting Phenomenon. That's a hard one. That is a... On the one point, I do like Waterboy, but he is absolutely not going to be good at anything else. And on the other, Phenomenon is going to be very, very difficult. Waterboy for the team? You think so? That is true. Nobody will be getting dehydrated. Alright, let's go with Waterboy.
Other issues.
Let's go with Waterboy. I think he deserves a shot, and he seems shockingly more stable than Phenomenon at the moment.
I hear ya. I might have him take care of this mess before he starts, but yeah, let's go with it. I'll let him know. He really looks up to you.
Does he look up to me, or... Wait, does he know I'm Mecha Man?
Yeah, but he said he won't tell anyone.
I guess that's good.
I'll let him know. You'll see him in the roster for your next dispatch.
Phenomenon might need time away from his ex. Well, you know, that is true. If he goes away for a little while and...
Hey, I leave. It's my clothes.
He goes away for a little while, he might get over it.
Yeah,
and having to come back to the
No. I do this. See?
office for a while would probably be a bad thing.
Blonde.
Which, if you've ever been dehydrated, you know how much you miss being able to chug water.
Thanks for picking me.
That is indeed true.
I'm just a joint.
I have been quite dehydrated before.
The word is jazzed, and we're jazzed to have you too, bud.
How many people know Robert is Mecha Man? I'm pretty sure everybody knows that, to be honest.
See you next shift.
Everybody at the office. Waffle Stomp? This isn't going to go any better, guys. Half my heroes are injured now. Oh.
Hey, team. We appreciate you doing your best last shift under the circumstances, but we are here to help. More specifically, Waterboy is here to help.
Sup?
Alright, Waterboy.
He may be new to this, but Robert and I believe he will make a great addition to the team.
This is bullshit.
Good.
He wasn't eating, he went... I threw the spaghetti on flambe, and he went in there to wash it off, which was why there was a bunch of spaghetti in there.
A joke?
Nope, Waterboy, it's not a joke.
Oh. Cool, Leo.
Alright. You know what? I'm going to continue to make this guy better prepared for combat, so we're going to give him more mobility.
We have reason to believe that Mr. Vanderstank's life will be in danger at a meeting today.
I'm so tired of spending all of my shifts protecting Mr. Vanderstank. Mobilize quickly to stop the assassination, protect, capture, and detain the assassin. Well, this is why I upped your mobility. Yeah,
yep,
you too.
on it.
For you, Bobby.
There we
I'll
go.
do it.
Oh, no, it's bad. Can I have it?
Level heals one hero when sent on a call together? No way. Aw, that is so cool. Well, I'm going to be sending her on every call now.
Wow, these one-on-ones seem to be really working out. I think I could make this training a regular thing, you know?
Izagal, you go in for some
Aren't you
training.
persistent? Teamwork slows me down, dude.
Hey, so we're a little down on new subscribers this month. Think you can spare a hero to do some recruiting?
How the fuck are we supposed to do this? You could try charming them with your winning personality.
Oh. Alright.
Match my tempo.
Recruit new SDN subscribers with a cheerful, positive, uplifting attitude. I'm not sure this is going to work, but I don't have anybody that has any better charisma. So, here we go.
I'm on my way.
Wolfpack. Invisigal is on the team. XP rewards are double. Oh, there we go. There we go. Oh wait, I can do one or the other. Alright, next one is Ear to the Ground. With her connections, Invisigal can reveal the number of slots and crime type on hover for certain calls before they happen. Yes, actually. He is the mustache guy. Jacksepticeye voices him. Which he is extremely proud about, by the way. Yes, it is. He does have a pretty distinctive voice, doesn't he? Alright, stop the assassination. Yes, there we go.
Good
there
job.
we go. I saved Vanderstank once again. For what has to be probably the 6th time now? Alright, subscriber recruitment. How did you do? 90%, here we go. Alright, did it, did it.
Keep it up.
I know, he has a very distinctive voice. I was watching one of his videos and he was very excited about this role. But you know, I don't blame him. It'd be really cool to voice a video game, especially one as awesome as this one is, to be honest. Alright. Oh yes, the whole cast of this game is pretty star-studded. Yeah, very good ear test, very good ear. I'm terrible with voices, so if I hadn't known beforehand that he was in here, I probably would have missed it. Either that or it would have been just kind of tickling the back of my mind.
I'm on it. No stopping me this time.
Waterboy assigns himself when not sent for a while. Receives a +1. Oh man. Send a charming and good-looking superhero to join a superhero dating competition. You're gonna screw this up for me, aren't you? Yeah, you are.
Hey, if you were a civvy, what would your job be?
I feel like working at a gas station would be pretty chill.
I fuck with a pet store.
Yeah, right. You hate pets.
I hate pets with bad attitudes.
What pets have good attitudes?
Snakes. They're just chilling.
That is true. Every snake is chill.
It's time
I
to
don't mind
meet
being
the civilians.
Janitor, but I always
What's a
wanted
good
to
first
be a
impression?
hero.
Oh, he's got
Oh, he can't do any of those things.
This is my job. Day job.
Listen, you tried and you suck.
This is going to be so bad.
The important thing is you suck. And you know this now.
No one seems interested. What's plan B? Prove yourself in a relay race. Oh.
Ugh. we had it.
Oh, that sucks. You really shouldn't have gone to the dating competition. Come on, man.
We've tracked down the assassin's temporary base of operations.
Alright, let's hack.
Asshole.
Oh. Okay. I had a plan. It was stupid. Thank you for coming, Adrenaline Dragon. I really appreciate it. Alright, password. Left, up. I hope you have a good night, bud. Left, up, right, down. Left, up, right, down. Alright. Did it. Evidence has been obtained.
The hero to put on a show? We need Terrence the Turtle to beat someone.
Fake fight a mascot during halftime.
Up for team morale.
It sounds like it's going to need more charisma than actual fighting. Make it look convincing, but pull your punches. You know what? I'm gonna send Malevola and Prism so that hopefully Prism gets healed.
Fanging it. Wanna dance?
Yeah, that's gonna leave a mark. Good.
Ugh, this is getting ridiculous. It's
I'm
time
gonna
to
send
put an end to
Waterboy
this.
on his first mission. Take down the located assassins, identify the location of the boss. Okay.
Graceful.
I think this is good.
But deadly.
Oh, okay. Another bottle.
Water, bitch, almost took me out back there.
Is there a return policy on this motherfucker?
Yeah, maybe we get someone who doesn't suck instead.
Sorry
Oh
for the
man,
puddles.
I feel so bad for him.
It's involuntary.
Ease up. It's his first day.
Can it be his last day, too?
Well, if he's so awful, show him the ropes.
Because some things you just can't teach.
Okay, sounds like quitter talk to me.
You calling us quitters?
Prove me wrong.
Every time I hear Waterboy, I just think of Adam Sandler. I know, right?
Hello, dispatcher.
Oh.
Would you like to play a little game, perhaps? A brain teaser?
Ugh, I hate this asshole. Careful, he's tricky.
His name's Brain Teaser. How tricky can he be?
Don't say I didn't warn you.
Puddle. Guys,
Alright.
watch.
He
Look
got
out.
his first mission.
Slipping in a puddle is the most foolish way to hurt oneself. And yet, here I am.
Sorry. Apologize. It's my fault. Mistake. And I get wet when nervous. Malevola, please to go team with glad to be here.
Robin, you cut Sona and you replaced him
Not as
with
trickly as
the
the
fucking
Riddler.
wet guy?
That's right.
You know that Sona could turn into a bat.
I'm well aware.
Alright,
How
what
is
should
wet
we
guy
give
better than a
him?
bat? Well, at least he can lecture people to death.
You know what? I'm gonna up his charisma because he should have the charisma, you know? And see, for Invisigal, I'm going to up the mobility. Let's up the mobility. Gotta give him the Riz, that's right. We gotta work on his Riz game. Humor the brain teaser, find the brain teaser.
Hey, so there's a mini... no, baby. Tiny kaiju
I'm gonna sit the water boy down
cute,
with
but, like,
a
where's
book
its mom?
called How to Flirt for Dummies, and he's gonna read it, and he's gonna get better. Capture the small baby kaiju. I bet this
Fair
thing is
play.
adorable. I really hope they show us a picture of it. Brain teaser, the Riddler's lesser known cousin. You know what? I'm gonna send you in flambe. So, do I humor the brain
Pick on
teaser?
somebody my own size.
Have you been paying attention? Answer my riddles. 1, 2, 3, and I will gladly turn myself in.
High injury risk, but the entire Z team receives XP. Or I could find him. It's a low
Or I
injury
could also
risk.
just track you down.
You know what, Prism? I've been putting a lot of points into your intellect. Show me that it's... Show me that it hasn't
I got
been
you.
for nothing.
I just took off my shoes. One sec.
Let's see, it wants to play. Aw. That was kind of mean. No, it wasn't mean. It was pretty funny, actually. There's no need to be worried about being mean, especially not to somebody who calls himself the brain teaser. Nobody made him do that. Alright, we're gonna wrestle it. Wrestle the baby kaiju.
So you finally noticed. I'm perfect.
Alright. Let's not start a war here with
Watch me burn.
convince their boss to leave Torrance. If all else fails, strike a deal. Alright. I'm gonna send Malevola and Golem because I want Golem to be
Okay.
healed.
I got you.
We'll start with an easy one.
Pain
What's
and gain.
my favorite?
That's a hell of
Oh,
a deal.
oh, it was the names of all the places. Oh, I remember this one, but I don't. Okay, wolves inside us. I don't remember. I don't remember the movie. Oh, this is bad. I know it's one of these two alive, but I don't know if it's staying alive or standing alive. Standing? Alright, and then it was Mecha Man Prime.
Well, a deal's a deal, dispatcher. Come and get me.
Thank you so much for
I've
helping
been
me out
waiting
there. I
downstairs in the
completely
lobby for
forgot
at
what
least
any of that
30
is.
minutes.
Also, yes, Tess, I promise. That was really funny. Alright. So, everybody got points for that. I have 5 points to give away. Awesome. Alright, so for Flambe, we're going to... I'm going to give you a bit more charisma because I need more of that. You, I'm going to continue to spec physically. I was talking about wolves inside us, but if the shoe fits. No, that would be werewolves inside us. Going to double down on her intellect. Coop, why are you down? Man. Well. Alright. Coop, I'm going to... We're gonna up your intellect because you're like the only other person who actually has any intellect. Waterboy, I'm going to up your Riz again. Ex-hero in crisis. Oh my god, this is Phenomenon, isn't it?
There's a retired SDN hero at Crypto that
Astroman,
causing
okay.
problems. Can you get him out of there?
Oh shit, Astroman. I remember him when I was a kid.
Poor guy. I've been there.
Really?
Before I joined the Z team, I didn't have a pot to piss in.
He had to borrow one of mine.
Yeah, you know what? Let's send those two.
Need something moist? What, wetter?
100%, let's go!
Shift every... go! Z-team!
How about you go back
You
to
guys
wiping
are
up
so
spills,
mean to Waterboy.
Jenna.
Quit being so mean to him. I'm upping his Riz.
Excuse me.
I'm teaching him how to be smooth. Up your comments. There we go. Alright. Don't know what a Therian is. Well, Tess, why don't you explain? 91%? Let's go! Let's go!
Didn't even stretch this morning.
On fuego.
Okay, so 10 successes and 1 failure. That's not quite as bad as I did last time.
That
Not only did you cut one of their dumb shit criminal buddies, you're also forcing them to work with
An actual good person that wants to be a hero?
I was gonna go with Wet Baby Bitch Boy, but yeah, we can go with yours.
Well, I mean, you
Yeah,
can leave out the
let's
naughty
go with
bits,
mine.
but come on. Explain
Hey,
what a
kid.
Therian is.
Love you.
Love you too, Ark.
Don't fuck this up.
I mean, the Therians I've met are pretty naughty. But that's just my experience.
Hey, Mom. Hey, honey.
Aw, he's all alone. But he has his puppy, so that's all you really need, right? And he's the goodest of boys. I'm waiting for the bat guy to come out of nowhere and just end up murking me. Wow. Finding...
Those, they make fun of my issue. My
Finding
stutter.
Waterboy sitting alone in the dark
It'll help.
in the janitorial closet is extremely
I
sad.
don't think it's a stutter.
What? Can you not? It's happening right currently. This very right now. You can't? I'm concerned. I'm worried.
The more you expect failure, the more likely it is to happen. I don't think you have a stutter. I think you have a confidence issue. You're worried you're going to say the wrong thing so you won't finish a sentence. I'm blowing your mind. What are you afraid of with the C-Team? I mean, seriously, what's the worst that could happen?
Actually, the worst thing that could
call
happen
me
is Malevola
useless.
ends up
They call me-
gutting you.
I don't know. They think I suck.
See? They say that all the time. You worrying about it didn't stop a thing. So fuck them. Fuck me, fuck everybody. From now on, stop caring what anyone else thinks.
It smells very...
smells very chemically in here. What you watching?
Typecast 2. You spying on me?
Technically, you're still on the clock. Didn't peg you as a rom-com fan.
If I'm on the clock, you shouldn't be pegging me with anything, Robert. That's extremely inappropriate. Especially since I'm usually the picker, not the peggy.
No,
That is very good advice.
tell me how
Stop
it
giving
is.
a fuck
I
about
wanted to
what
see
they
that
think
one.
of you.
At least 20 minutes of trailers.
Although I like
Almost
adding
forget what
this,
I'm watching by the
I
time
like
the movie
adding
starts.
Invisigal's
Same. You going
rules
solo?
to the corporate
I'm a loner,
rules.
Robbie.
Wait till you're home to
That
do your
night, I feel bad
cocaine,
asking people to pay when I'm just gonna sneak in.
and don't peg
The only
people
thing is I
while
can't
you're
get
on the
snacks.
clock.
Floating buckets of popcorn do tend to draw a lot of attention.
Ah, but I miss it. I miss popcorn.
Oh man, I have to make a choice. I think this is where I choose which one I'm going to be romancing as well. Do I go spend a good time with Blonde Blazer, or do I go to Invisigal? I knew they were going to make me choose at some point. Hmm. You know what? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Invisigal's been my favorite this entire time, so
I didn't see the first one. Can you give me a recap?
It's against the law for you to be watching like this.
Actually, it's illegal for you to be filming. I don't need the whole thing, just enough to know what's going on.
Okay. It's about this struggling actress who gets this big
and you know what would really suck though? If the entire reason he broke up or she broke up with Phenomenon was that
Then he realizes her secret, but it turns out
she actually wanted to go out with Robert. And then I just fucking blew her off. And now she's gonna key my car or
You didn't
something.
hear any of that?
Yeah, no. It's probably fine though.
So, what are we, like, friends now? Or is this some sort of team building exercise?
I think we're getting there, don't you?
I haven't decided yet.
Would have been nice to know before I spent $86.
I'm not gonna fuck you just because you bought me a bucket of corn.
Can you just be normal for like a second? Do
This
you
is-
like... You first.
This is nice. What were you gonna say?
I
Do you like
love
Sour Patch Kids?
Sour Patch Kids.
I fucking love Sour Patch Kids.
Cool.
Oh, she really likes this. Oh, that was so sweet. You and 53% of players added Waterboy to the Z team. While 63% of players picked Invisigal. Really? Well, she is the best. You and 63% of players threw spaghetti at Flambe. You and 78% of players warned Blonde Blazer about her dress. And 63% of players kept kissing Blonde Blazer a secret. Well, you and 37% of players returned the baby kaiju. 19% saved all three businesses from the brain teaser. So, we ended up doing really well on that. And 26% of players answered all three of Brain Teaser's questions. Awesome. What got flagged, Tess? The most sent hero was Prism. Performed better than 70% of players. And you activated a hero's powers 30 times. I didn't flag any of... Well, I'm sorry you got flagged. I don't know why you did. I'm sorry.
That's everybody. All clear.
Dialogue is delayed on stream.
It's not worth it.
I don't know why that is. Let me attempt to fix it. Alright, let's see if that fixed things.
Damage is done.
All I want is a conversation. No need to do any more.
This isn't looking great. Oh. Okay, good deal. I'm glad. Yeah, if the audio is glitching for you guys, let me know so I can try to fix it. It's not supposed to be. Oh, damn, he needs a spotter.
You need some help? You're
Oh,
not
please, anybody but you.
idiot. So weak. So weak.
Now I'm getting a safety lecture from a walking fireball.
It's a reality check. Normies need babysitters, so you don't hurt yourself thinking you're a hero. Man, I am so fucking strong. It's crazy.
Well, it's part of the job. Heroes get hurt all the time.
Not the good ones, Rabo. Not the good ones.
Oh god, this a-hole. Yeah, that's me every time he walks into a scene.
Supervision. You can't get injured, because we need you behind that desk to help real heroes.
Actually, speaking
Oh, you did say that you were hoping for character growth from him, so
I assume it happens all the time, given your, your fire shit.
maybe this is his redemption arc.
Actual, real, actual hero. And I assure you, he's regretting his decision to tangle with me.
I imagine he's regretting a lot of his decisions.
That's fucking right. And you, it's time for you to accept that you don't got it anymore. And pretending you still do is bumming people the fuck out. Now,
You're
get your
such
flat
a
ass off
big
my bench.
bag. Guys, if the decision had been to get rid of Flambe, he would have been the only one getting booted out of here. I've never seen somebody that I just immediately despised like that. Alright, another day, another...
You ever notice the Torrance vibe is like...
I don't even know how much I make here.
Between the dead fish in the harbor and the giant refinery, I can't tell who's to blame.
Dang, that's some nasty shit.
Man, I love the smell of the refinery.
I hate the smell of gasoline.
Would love the smell of the refinery.
All right, everybody, respectfully, shut the fuck up.
All right, everybody, respectfully,
Now
shut the
that's
fuck up.
some nasty shit.
Let's do this.
Torrance Middle School needs judges for our annual talent show. Do it for the kids?
Hurt. Swift as the night, sharp as my knife.
Every time I hear just Jacksepticeye, it just makes me laugh. I know, right? You know, it says somebody magnetic, and Coop doesn't have any charisma, but she does have those magnet powers, so I'm hoping it'll give me a special...
Baddies being baddies!
You are very loud.
Special option. Rescue transit workers. Oh, that looks like the, looks almost exactly like the helicopter I fly out to the rig with.
That works.
Well, that didn't give me a special thing.
Mr. Vanderstank has requested a rescue. Vango workers are trapped after a tunnel collapse at the new station. Get them out safely. And discreetly.
Alright. Navigate.
Oh, sure.
And save the workers. So that should be about mobility. Yeah, that should do it.
I feel like Vanderstank is one divorce away from starting a full-on robot uprising.
Vanderstank is one divorce away from starting an
What time is
robot
it?
uprising.
Training time. It's training time if anyone's up for it.
Let's train Waterboy.
We have a crisis. The parents started fighting over the results, and then the kids joined in too.
Grade A parenting.
The parents started fighting over the results of the talent show. And suddenly there's a random angry Irish person just cuts through the crowd, right? Alright, well, angry parents. Convince the parents and children to stop fighting. Convince them non-violently. Really tying my hands here.
I'm the guy.
I'll handle it.
Think you can squeeze through there?
You calling me short? Nah,
Yes.
just fucking with you. Tight squeeze, but nothing I can't handle.
Alright, Jacksepticeye to the rescue. Don't make me tie your hands, Tess. You're supposed to be a good girl. Let's up her bigger some.
SDN's tolerable and inclusive workplace make you a great sponsor for our Aliens Among Us exhibit.
This would have been perfect for Bat Boy.
I remember my first talent show. I got second place. Got my ass beat by Lizzie Galupo.
Second place? Impossible. The show must have been rigged.
I got her back, though. I shot a laser beam and burned all that hair off.
So, I guess you're the real winner
That's
then?
interesting.
Sure am. Inspired my first
Hi,
single.
Kaiser. How you
Girl,
doing?
your hair's on fire.
It's so great to see you.
Never say bop again.
Did you have a good stream? Have fun playing Chain together? Let's see. Waterboy no longer assigns himself, and he heals 2 heroes when sent on a call together. Or he gains +3 to the highest stat for that call. You know what? I like him not assigning himself. And the healing will also be great. That's good. I'm glad you had a wonderful... I'm glad you had a wonderful stream, Kaiser. Man, Punch-Up's becoming my strongest guy. Let's up his charisma a little bit. I mean, look at that mustache. How can he not be charismatic? Plus, you know, he's Irish. More hero trading. Children are asking about living on another planet. Improvise a made-up planet on the spot. This isn't going to go great. This isn't going to go great at all, no matter which one of these I pick. Damn. Alright, we settled the chaos without murdering the PTA, so that's good. I'm not trying to steal your viewers, I promise. Up her mobility, because she is a great all-rounder. Outsmart the persistent stalker. Make him disappear, but not like that. You sure not like that? I'm pretty sure we can make him just disappear.
Torrance Middle School is hosting an anti-bullying seminar, and it would mean a lot if a hero could come talk to the students and their parents.
Damn it.
Free knuckle kisses.
Inspire the audience and discourage bullying.
Punch-Up, do you have a charger?
Not on me. Why?
My apartment was without power this morning, and my tablet is dead.
Ah, shite. And you're in the middle of that book and everything, aren't you?
Thane of the Sunlands was about to confess her feelings to the Prince of Darkness. It is imperative I know how he responds.
Let's see. It's probably a charisma roll. Yes, there we go.
Alright, I'm in. And files deleted.
And the backups?
Yes, Jesus, I deleted it all from the cloud and shit.
No, I wouldn't fight Kaiser. If if I needed him to do something, I'd just put a leash on his collar and tell him to be a good boy. Alright. Coop, what did you get? Coop flies to culvert locations, greatly reducing travel time. That is fantastic. How were you not able to fly already? Your big break, kid.
Hey, we're getting flooded with calls about sewage in a couple neighborhoods. Which should we hit first?
I'm uniquely equipped for, this looks like the job for me.
Say less. I'm already there.
The smell is unbearable. This should have been dealt with yesterday before it even got this bad. Is there someone else I can speak to? Perhaps your manager?
It's a very high-profile subscriber.
I take the kids to the beach, and what do I have to deal with, huh? Shit! There's poop all over the beach. The sewage is spilling out into the fucking water.
Let's see here. You've never worn a collar or leash? Well, we should fix that.
Who's the most bullyable on the Z team?
It's Waterboy, obviously.
It's an honor to be nominated.
Actually, I'm pretty sure it's me.
Yeah, at least Waterboy can get
Alright,
it wet.
inspired the audience. There we go. See, Kaiser, you're such a good boy. Oh, succeeded, yes.
Very
Let's do
professional.
it. Let's see.
Feeling fresh.
Oh, 88%, come on. Yes, there we go. All right. The entire team got experience for that one, and 3 people leveled up. All right, let's go. Got 5 new followers, now only 55 more to see me in a beta. Well, we're gonna make that happen. We're going to definitely make that happen. I don't understand why there is synergy between Prism and Flambe. Like, is she the only person that actually likes him? Alright. Let's see, Flambe. Be more vigor, I guess. I don't want to upgrade you at all, really, but... That's right. Go follow Kaiser. We can get his numbers up. I know we can. Alright. By the time I'm done with him, his name will be Rizboy.
Ready, set, fire.
Need a very specific type of hero. Send someone unassumingly strong? Yes.
Ooh, this will be the perfect place to drop my new diss track.
Mysterious fire has broken out at the refinery. We got it under control, but we can't investigate the cause with all these dangerous fumes.
Flambe.
I would never blow up a refinery, okay? They smell like shit.
Someone's pushing on my boy's explosion territory.
Oh, I see. Okay, I can't have too much combat.
I can do that. Whatever.
Oh, man, this is bad.
My pleasure. Alright, have fun without me.
Oh, this isn't good. It said the fail is guaranteed if I go above the combat power threshold, which is that red X on top.
Alright, toodaloo.
You know what? I'm gonna have to send Invisigal alone and hope the best.
Yo, man, word in the hallways is you went on a date. That true?
You jealous or something? Look, if you wanted to grab dinner, all you had to do is ask.
Yeah. You're not my type.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. That was surprisingly entertaining.
It is always Flambe's fault. No matter what happens, it is always his fault. Oh, that's not good. Oh my god, I succeeded anyways, no way!
The Red Ring was behind this. But what are they up to?
No way, I had a 15% chance. I can't believe that worked. Whoa, she just jumped in rank by 3. Wow. Alright, Kaiser. Thank you for coming to the stream and seeing me. I really appreciate it. Get all cleaned up and have yourself a great day at work. Task failed successfully. I know, right? Bye, love you too. I'm gonna spec her in that area. Rank 8. She is now definitely one of my highest leveled. I guess I really should be specializing these guys, huh?
Look at you, climbing the corporate ladder.
Oh. I am now an associate dispatcher. Look at that, I have a fancy new title. Yes. It doesn't matter if it's not Flambe's fault. It is his fault. I love that the dog just goes everywhere with him now.
Stomach. Do we know anybody like that? Super digestion?
The glutonator? But I don't know. I think I weighed like 1,000 pounds.
Hey, Robert. Did you recently lose like 700 pounds?
First off, you're either shit at math or you think I'm like 300 pounds. I am not. I go to the gym and I work hard. Secondly, what are you talking about?
There's a poll going around on which superhero you used to be. Person who guesses right wins $936.
That's a real specific number.
And that specific number could be ours. Just one hint. I mean, we're friends, right? Make your friends some money.
I'm double jointed.
What's your other superpower? Flipping your eyelids inside out?
I wish. Love to be able to do that.
Oh, come on, don't be like that.
Sorry, you're just gonna have to earn your $936 in some other way. What way could that be? I'll let you know if I work it out. Get it? I'm explaining the joke.
Oh, God.
What the fuck?
Decent reflexes.
Hey, Beef, no!
Which heroes do we know that talk too much and have quick reflexes?
Clean this shit up.
Hey, losing all that weight don't make you better than us.
Yeah. Chill out, Dad.
I never had a dad.
I know.
Fuck that's supposed to mean?
You told me one time you didn't have a dad.
Oh god, their banter kills me sometimes.
Heard the team scuffling with the Red Ring.
They run half the crime in the county. We are bound to bother them at some point.
Watch yourself. You poke the hive, you're gonna have to fuck the queen.
That's not how bees work.
You know what I mean.
I don't.
Poke the hive, you're
No
gonna
one's
have
trying
to fuck the
Shroud.
queen.
But if we kill the queen, we rot
Feel
them.
like that
You
needs
do
to
that.
be an official saying.
Kill Shroud. Because you might get the chance. And you don't want to go in there having to think about it. You gotta know.
I'm not sure. Just gonna have to wait and see, I guess.
Just think about it. You want to be sure. Mecha Man's coming back to life one patch at a time.
One patch at a time.
I mean, Royd's doing most of the work though, right?
So much. He's probably gonna redo all this shit.
Royd's doing all of this work though, right? Yeah, I'm just fucking everything up.
Evening, folks. Welcome back.
We got a few guesses at your identity. Leading one right now is Blue Balls Man.
Oof.
Let me guess. His power is not being able to nut.
Nah, his balls are literally blue, dude. Get your head out of the gutter.
Great. It's gonna be a long shift.
Damn, imagine you have a superpower and your superpower is that your
out there all
that your balls
so
are just blue.
scared, so hungry. Please find my baby.
Mr. Cat?
That's seriously his name.
Hey, look, not everyone's a fucking creative.
Mr. Cat is a known escape artist and very fast. Yes, Blue Balls Man, it is an official superhero now.
Close your eyes. You're not gonna like what you see anyway.
Fuck. Did we just lose power?
Sure did. Citywide. Hang tight, we're booting up the backup generator.
Oof.
There we go.
That sucks.
Hey, Robert. Just brace yourself.
Oh, shit.
Oh, y'all can't see? I'm a human nightlight. I don't got those problems.
Yeah, it's just a little dark. What's the fucking big deal? You never closed your eyes before? Yeah, same shit.
I mean, I can see in the dark, so this is...
Have you ever closed your eyes before? That's the same shit.
The whole city's out. Guys, this is an all-hands-on-deck situation. Okay, I'm gonna get the grid back up and running.
Alright, success.
Shit's gonna be insane the minute the lights turn back on.
Well, Blue Balls Man
Thank fuck.
doesn't actually have blue balls. His balls are actually entirely just blue. That is his superpower. I see, okay. These hacking mini-games are... Oh, I see. Okay. He just literally has blue balls. Yes. That's why I was saying, imagine that you gained superpowers, and your superpower is that your balls are just blue. Like, that's even worse than Waterboy.
I've lost contact with the tower, and it's pitch black out here. I cannot land this thing. Help?
Oh, shit.
I know this sounds crazy, but can you guys catch this thing in the air?
Graceful, but deadly.
Alright, let's do it.
My mother lives in the Parkwood senior community, and she hasn't answered her phone since the blackout.
Wouldn't even be the weirdest superhero in comics.
Cool. Blackout? Baby, I don't know her.
You me? Fucking rocks. Dang, it's like dark and shit out here.
Fucking blue balls, man. I know, right? Oh, come on.
Man, fuck this shit.
You guys are assholes.
You can't say I'm not impressed. You can't. I mean, you
Well,
can, I just won't believe you.
I'm glad that you, glad that you found that so amusing. Calm the superpowered baby out of his tantrum and rescue the parents out of the pocket dimension.
Size don't matter.
Swift as the night, sharp as my knife.
Bouncing back.
Oh, I got it.
That was, competent.
See, I wasn't even talking about names. Like, there's a dude in DC Comics who has a laser gun as a codpiece, and his name is Codpiece. Never heard of him, but, that is pretty great.
God damn it. The Red Ring's stealing shipments right off the train. We're not equipped to stop them.
Red Ring? Fuck him up for me, yeah?
Smile. This is fun. Oh, spooky.
Damn.
Just a little longer.
Up, left, right is the power restart key. Hacking minigames are getting a little bit difficult. Dude became a villain because he had a size complex.
Soccer fans are not a fan of this blackout. Shit's getting scary. We gotta get him the hell out of here.
Well, I don't have anybody on standby. That's... this isn't going to go well.
Good to go. What's it going to be this time? Hey, did you get that video I sent you?
Dude, you sent me like 500.
It's the one with the karate dog.
Oh, fuck. I need to see that right now.
What's a good line to text a guy in a blackout?
I'm looting the Ralphs. You want anything?
Yes.
Oh,
got it.
you always did look hotter in the dock.
Just say boo.
Golem, you're a genius.
My member is too small. I shall show the world its superiority by turning it into a laser. Fantastic. Oh, no way, I got it. I got it still. Yes.
Cool. Can I go home now?
Oof, that was only a 35% chance. Honey, for the love of God, it's big enough. Up your vigor. There we go.
On fuego.
We've got a situation at Fan Labs. They told me to call
Going
it.
comics is amazing, right?
Fear not. Don't worry. I got this. I have extra flashlights if people, any takers? Okay, more for me.
Close your eyes. You're not gonna like what you see anyway.
%. There we go. Ah.
I am sweating in a way that is more.
Ooh. Pirouette. If Coop is sent on a call that fails, she will reattempt it. Or, if placed in the first slot, Coop now gains +3 combat. The second slot, +3 mobility. I want the reshot. When Elon Musk decides to become a supervillain. I am Tiny Dick Man. The world will suffer because of it. Man, there's 2 of them after me.
Oh shit. Nearly there.
There we go.
it's me again. You're not gonna believe this, but now there's some scary dudes with scary weapons. I'm quitting after this, man. I can't do this.
This poor guy is having the worst day.
I'm there.
Quitting after this, man. I can't deal with this.
You don't need to see shit to punch shit.
Swift as the night, sharp as my knife. Shit, that feels much better. If not for these blackouts, I'd know if the Prince of Darkness returns Fane's feelings by now. This is unacceptable. I crave revenge.
Can you take revenge later? We've got other shit to do. Do I even need to say it? Fuck these guys up.
What? There's no...
Come on, this should be a layup for you guys.
Wow, that sucked. I can't believe that didn't work. Oh, got that one though.
Mission
Alright.
accomplished.
It's spelled like algebra. Had to Google it because who the fuck names their kid that? Well, yeah. You ever thought that what your kid is named will determine what they do? Like, imagine if you named your child Jeeves. Is he destined to be anything but a butler?
Watch me burn.
My daughter was at the beach with her friends, and I haven't heard from her. I'm really worried.
Oh, yeah. Tell them I'm a shooting star. That'll be hilarious.
Major multi-part pile-up has created severe blockage on a main street. Well, yeah, but... all that algebra and he's just named Xavier.
Headed out.
New me? Fucking rocks.
Those menaces are at it again with their e-bikes and fireworks.
Their e-bikes and fireworks. Damn them.
Here I go.
Graceful, but deadly.
Ugh. Damn, I think this shift gave me carpal tunnel.
Huh. Would have guessed years of cranking it would get you there first.
Probably a combo type deal.
Found them in the lifeguard tower, but they're violently high and refuse to go home. Oh my god. Setting the kid up to be future Primarch of Earth X. I know, he really didn't stand a chance, did he? And again, none of his kids really stood much of a chance. Be cool, don't force it, or lecture them on...
Tried hard. That's what matters.
Alright, 100%. Let's go. Invisigal going up to rank 9. Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
Holy moly!
Fireworks confiscated.
Is that for drinks? I ain't heard about kryptonite.
Somebody got banned. Hi.
Flambe got banned.
Good week, everybody. See you all on Monday.
Hey, Stormwolf, how you doing?
I mean, the sardines of Villenbar, not sure I'd fit in.
Just go dress like that. Everyone will just think you're a pervert.
Yeah, all right.
Let's fucking go! Literally. And I am also excited, Robert.
I can hear your heartbeat. Sound like a fart on a car seat. And I can read your mind. You wanna fall in love and eat pizza all the time.
Why are you out here?
Too damn big.
Well, you want a drink?
Sure.
You want two?
Sure. Hey, creep.
Creep?
I don't know you, and I don't like not knowing people.
Well, you won't like knowing him. He's the biggest perv west of the LA River. And he's with us.
She's joking. I'm
Well, that's good.
But if you do...
I'm glad you're getting the sleep study done and everything.
My business.
That's, I don't want to be in...
Oh yeah, I did hear about that. Elon Musk is such a douchebag. He really is. Yeah, his eldest kid came out as trans, and he blames the left trans agenda in that.
I look good, feel better. I gotta ask, just for the record, how I look? I look good. Would you wanna fuck me if you could? How I look?
Oh, it's the liberal left-wing agenda that made it happen. It's not because trans just exist. No, it's
this for all the
it was the colleges and professors that made
We
them
got Miss
trans.
Sour Patch Kids on our first date. I figure whiskey makes sense for the second. Third date, you can buy me dinner. Nothing too filling though, just in case.
Yeah, that was fun. I hadn't been to the movies in a while. I had a good time.
You had a good time eating popcorn too loud while I sat silently next to you?
The silence was the best part.
An in-lab study?
Loud sometimes.
Okay.
Was that about sex?
Catch on quick. I'll grab us a table.
Hopefully you'll be able to fall asleep well enough over there. I know it's kind of weird sleeping while knowing that somebody's watching you.
4,
Make it 5.
5 fancy whiskeys?
No.
Yes, of course. That's what they all say, right? Universities are
You thought he was a fucking knock.
the place where professors
Said he reminded me of my ex, and he's got buzzkill ass energy.
push the trans and gay agenda.
Cheers.
Oh, what the fuck is that guy? Okay, hear me out, though. Like,
Excuse me,
damn.
sir. When you have a moment,
Take one of these.
to what do I owe this? You, sir?
You're good. Have fun.
Look, be honest. Am I going to make a fool of myself if I sing Whitney Houston?
Are you Whitney Houston?
Going to make a fool out of yourself no matter what you do.
Fuck.
Because you're a douchebag.
You better watch yourself.
Refill here, Coop?
You don't need to bribe me anymore. I'm in your debt now. If you ever need somebody removed,
I'll keep you in mind.
Damn, he's got an assassin in his pocket. There we go.
Fine.
Oh, hell yeah. Just bribe the bouncer. There we go.
Weird dryer sheets.
Yeah, I know. Their stupid talking points are dumb.
You're the enemy.
I bought them drinks. What else do they want?
You can buy them drinks. You can make sure they don't get fired. You can line them up and blow them one by one, but they're still gonna think you might be the hero that fucked up their life.
People don't think about much when I blow 'em. But I hear what you're saying. I'd argue they fucked up their own lives being criminals.
See, that's narc shit. Just tell them who you are. What are the odds that you busted any of them anyway?
Yes, exactly, Tess. That is exactly the point. Just like if a kid goes off to college and then quote-unquote suddenly becomes trans or gay, they didn't suddenly become that way. They just left the unsafe environment they were in. Oh, I knew I hated flambe.
I'm just getting warmed up.
Those two figures.
My name's Robert, such a bitch whose name is Robert. I'm a bitch, I'm a bitch. I'm such a fucking bitch. I have no hopes, I have no dreams. And I'm in the 13, and it doesn't even function.
In that one semester, they stuffed your head full of trans ideology. That's why you dropped out.
There was
It's
an
true.
incident in crypto where he was fucking with me, and I kinda.
You couldn't learn anything else. It was just full of trans and gay ideology.
Makes less sense than what you just said. So you can see why I'm worried about getting incinerated.
We all pay for who we used to be. The sooner you get it over with, sooner we get a fresh start.
You heard me when I said incinerated, right?
Who let a loser-ass bitch of a hero into our supervillain bar?
Why is everyone? Do I look like a bitch? Don't answer that.
Do I look like a bitch?
See, babe, He's got big guy voice.
Some parts of him are big.
Alright, from now on, team drinks are exclusively at Chili's.
Are you lost or something, bitch? Or you trying to get fucked up?
Oh my god, that dude.
Bars around here, fool. Why'd you pick this one? You got a death wish on me?
Hey, bud, let me buy you.
No one's talking to you, fucking.
Dude has the tiniest arms. No wonder he's a supervillain.
There's some people that want to talk to you, invisible bitch.
Oh, this isn't going well. Oh, damn. That, not great.
Here. Try this.
Thanks.
Wow, they all got their asses kicked in a bar
Can I
fight.
spends reporting? It's expensible. Can I get my money back? Paid, please.
I ordered 3 triple crunch tacos.
Oh, damn. Yes, congratulations on 2 months of HRT.
She temporarily blinded me!
What you mean temporarily? Bitch, you blind forever.
No, I didn't order that. I ordered 3
3
tacos.
triple crunch tacos. Yeah, I'm up to 50 times. Just eat that. It's the same shit anyway. Literally everything at this
Oh,
place
that
is
was
a remix of
funny.
the same 5 ingredients. Hot sauce? You drunk or concussed?
I'd go with
A little
both.
of both.
Or do some friendly fire.
Hey, Kaiser's back. Thanks for coming back, Kaiser. Oh, shit. Oh, damn, he just got punched in the dick. Just got punched in the dick by Jacksepticeye. That's... damn.
Thought he seemed salty.
Ooh, there she is. Thanks, babes. Sauce it up for me and everything. I think you're looking for these.
I know, he's hilarious, isn't he? Okay, guys, hear me out. Am I the only one that's kind of really into the alien guy? Like, he's kind of hot.
Love this!
Dude, he is only punching people in the dick. That is... damn. Oh. Ooh.
Both arms? Y'all are fucked up.
Weird thing is how easy it was. This churro isn't as soft as his noodle arms.
Maybe give us a
I have to check the flagging stuff.
I want another drink.
You're heroes now. Heroes don't start fights.
There's no reason these flags should be happening. Sorry they keep happening.
Well, not many finish fights against the Red Ring.
How do you have beef with them, Mr. Dispatcher?
Yeah, we know this Robert guy is a fraud. Who are you? Really?
You know what? Let's spill it.
You're right. It's a front. This guy, Robert, is a mask. He's not real. He's the guy who sits behind his desk, biding his time, dreaming of the day he gets back in the fight. I haven't told you who I was because I'm kind of starting to like you all, and I'm not sure you're gonna like the real me. But the difference between this team getting by and this team being great is trust. So you should get to know the real me. I'm Mecha Man.
No fucking way. Can't be.
Could be. That's like a real superhero.
It is you. You little shit.
Oh, come on. Aw, Golem guy helped. Saved by Waterboy. There we go.
Fuck you. Fuck all of you fucking fuckers.
Have a flower mouth, so I get flagged a lot.
Thanks.
Well, still.
My life.
Yup. Thanks for the drink.
So, I expected to be burnt to a crisp by now, and I didn't plan any of this next part. Anybody else got
I know,
something
he's
to
such a
say?
dickbag. I hate Flambe.
Courtney.
Nice to meet you, Courtney.
Herm. Sometimes Herman or Hermie. But my grandma calls me Herm, so Herm.
Janelle.
I'm Alice.
Bruno.
Malevolent.
Aw.
Your last name's Gibb?
My name's Colum.
So, what now? Orgy time?
Right. Mega Fuego sauce and ass play sounds like a great combo.
Good point. Anybody have another
Mega
coffee?
Fuego sauce and ass play sounds like a great idea. Oh, you know what? Who cares what Flambe thinks, because everybody else likes me now, so... That was a really, really sweet ending. I'm glad I decided to tell the truth.
Oh. Sounds like hip hop, but it's not, because then the white guitar come in, the white guitar.
84% of players told Z-Team you were Mecha Man.
I
Alright.
hate the world today. You're so
91% of players told Invisigal they had a good time.
I tried to tell you, but you look at me like maybe
30%
I'm an angel
said that
underneath.
they weren't sure about
Innocent
the
and sweet, like sweet and sour sauce. Yesterday I cried. This is the lady in the song, not me. You must have been the
78% of players held your own against Red Ring and Sardine.
Sing for me, I can understand how you could be so
74% saved the Terrence Middle School's talent show.
I'm a little bit of everything.
49% of players chose to send the air team to the
My
rescue.
name's Robert, such a bitch whose name is Robert. I'm a bitch, yeah, I'm a bitch. I'm such a fucking bitch. I have no hopes, I have no dreams. And a tiny little thing. And
This song is
doesn't
fantastic.
even function anyway. Because every record is function. Exactly, take me as I am. Just tiny little bitch, have a man. Rest assured that when I start to make you nervous and I'm going to extremes, tomorrow I will change and today
A
won't
success for
mean
Hero was Waterboy, who barely succeeded on a call 2 times.
child, I'm a mother, I'm a sinner and a saint.
Alright, we're gonna go through one more chapter tonight. And then after this one is over, I will save the last 2 chapters for my next stream.
I appreciate you coming to see this. Your support means a lot.
More than a lot. It means 936 American dollars. Cash, lad.
We're only here because these broke asses want proof before they pay.
That actually makes way more sense.
You
jealous, old man?
Let me guess. You get into a bar fight? I'm right, right? That's what criminals do at bars. They ruin everybody's fun. Fact. If you're gonna make me stand next to a criminal, you could at least hurry this shit up.
If you're gonna make me stand next to Benjamin's fucking button, you could at least change his diaper.
You're the only one here that's full of shit.
You're right. There was a bar fight, but it was actually Red Ring assholes who started it, not Z-Team assholes. Okay, we were just very aggressively defending ourselves.
I punched so
Is the audio messing up, guys?
in self-defense. It was crazy. Okay, protocol test 19.
I don't know if it's because they're talking through a monitor, so they are sounding far away.
No.
All readings super stable.
Here we go. Time to make your grand re-entrance.
Alright, ready for lunch.
Roger that.
It might just be a might just be a you problem. Draken Hunter.
See there? Is that confirmation enough for you cheap ass bitches? Pay me my money.
Fucking hell.
Told y'all, it's so obvious he don't have superpowers.
It's a fucking waste of time. If he was gonna lie about being a hero, why would he pick Mecha Man?
Reminder the mic is still open.
Look better than the original.
The smoke is a little overkill.
I thought the same too, but I think the purple is a nice touch.
What smoke?
What smoke?
Shut it down!
Oh shit. Damn, I thought we were actually gonna get it done this time.
Help it, Roy!
Get him out!
Shit.
Fuck now.
Oh shit. Oh fuck, I'm on it.
Oh, this isn't going very well. Well, let me see if I can fix this once more. Alright, let's see if this works now. And Robert is back in the hospital once more. Awesome. But the puppy's there. You know, guys, I'm starting to think that the puppy has superpowers, and it's that nobody will
long was I up?
ever
About
tell him
14,
he can't go somewhere.
15 hours, I think.
You okay, Royd? Why do you look worse than me?
It's over, brother. I cannot recreate the astral pulse. Too much power. Too small a size. No pulse mean I can't make the man mecha. I'm not good enough, bro. Fail you, I fail everybody. Almost bring down the whole team. Almost get you, almost get everybody blowed up.
Hey, listen. You might not believe in yourself right now, but
awesome.
I believe in you, Royd.
It's not a Little League game, brother. This real life.
I'm glad that it went away.
Royd, you did your best. I can't ask for anything else. Thank you.
A giant cinnamon roll.
I heard that big bastard crying in the bathroom. Makes it hard to shit when somebody's doing that next to you, you know?
Pretty distracting, yeah.
I heard that big bastard crying in the bathroom.
Fine.
Makes it hard to shit.
Disappearing
Oh
when people
yes,
get hurt.
yes it is.
What's your deal with her? You give everyone shit, but it always seems extra with Vizzy.
She's a liability. And one of us needs to be objective when it's clear something's going on between the two of you.
Oh, you fought her before, didn't
Don't
you?
think I don't see it. It's all over your stupid face. You like her. So I gotta hate her for the both of us.
I guess I'm coming around on her.
You coming where?
I'm coming... Jesus Christ. I'm warming up to her. Okay? Our relationship started out rocky, but it's gotten better. Were you able to follow that, you old fucking pervert?
Look, just be careful, kid. Some people, they're black holes. You reach out to help them and they just...
Yeah, we haven't seen Blonde Blazer in a bit. I'm guessing we'd be seeing more of her if we'd have decided to go out on that date.
Your new look screams, I know some science shit, so I was with you the whole way.
No, come on, take the day off.
No, really. I'm fine. All I've got.
See, when you look like Black Einstein,
desk work doesn't land you in
they
the infirmary. Think
definitely
about that.
start to listen to you. Discount Mr. Colonel KFC.
All we have to do is get in and out. Stick to the plan. If they're red ring or enhanced, proceed with caution. Oh, one sec. What are you doing up?
Oh, there she is.
Turns out, I'm completely fine. Just sort of time traveled several hours into the future where I feel pretty rested.
Oh, cool, yeah. That happens to me every night.
Wish I could say the same. How's the ship going?
Good? Yeah, challenging. Made worse by
Fucking
the enhanced islands. we're
Neil
dealing with.
deGrasse Tyson out.
I have a whole new appreciation for you. I'm sorry about the pulse. Give us some time. Royd's a little down, but I'm sure we can come up with alternate power sources.
Black Einstein, Colonel Sanders the Fifth.
Hey, really looking forward to tonight. Perfect timing.
Yeah, same. Wait, what do you...
I haven't actually seen anybody do anything. This is my first playthrough, and I had purposefully not watched anybody else do this.
But I don't know if sending him a level at a sub at Sunday school was the move.
But I am planning on doing another one where I make the opposite decisions.
Clear the way, you wankers. Nothing beats the original, but this will have to do.
I need someone to wait in line for this really cool game that I'm old enough to play, and my parents said it was okay to call SDN.
What? These people calling this shit is so annoying. I was saving this game for myself, but I like watching you play it. Oh, well, thank you. I like having you here as well. Send in Visigal.
Alright, what'd I fucking miss?
Holy shit, man, you're okay? Yeah, I was so fucking scared, dude.
Guess Mecha Man's a bit sturdier than we thought.
Damn, boy, you ate mad
This
shit.
cat's not a cat, it's a giant fucking tiger.
I did. Thank you.
Awesome.
That was very nice.
Yes, well, I'm glad you're not dead. That would have been inconvenient.
We were remiss. I mean, we missed you.
Got it.
Hey, show
Yes.
how we do it big top style.
To give you a little bit more vigor. %. There we go. Achieved a perfect dispatch with only one hero. Look at me, I'm awesome.
Robert, some asshole keeps hacking into my notes app. He's fucking with all my stand-up comedy material. Also,
Some
I think they have access to our
asshole
servers.
keeps hacking into my notes app, and they're messing with my stand-up material. Wow. I mean, if I had a tiger, I'd call it a little kitty. Got him. Alright. Up, up, down is the first half of that password. Up, down, left, right, left. Alright, finished. Oh, got it. Housekeeping.
Hello? Yes, it's that time of month again. Send your finest over to clean my abode.
Why the hell are we allowing these people to call out? This irritates me so much. Oh yeah, just send over a superhero to call me.
Blazer, hold down the fort, okay?
She did the best she could.
Hey, Madman again. How
Been
you
away from the
doing?
desk too long.
I thought this was an easy job.
Well, it's not.
You like
I
the
just make it
dancing
look easy.
emojis?
Shit, Robert. You're actually cool. He's not. He's just been gone all day, so it seems like he is.
Phenomena
There's
fan.
some dude just as phenomenal man picking fights with randos outside the convention center. It's weird. Can you make it stop?
I bet this is Phenomena Man. I bet he's actually out there just picking fights with random people.
I'll take care of it. I love a symmetrical stage picture.
Flambe is still out sick.
Sick of your shit, maybe. But yeah, I haven't heard anything from him since last night.
Funny. I thought he was gonna catch me on the way in. Fuck me up in the parking lot.
Yeah,
Oh,
I thought so.
39%. Oh, I still got it. Yes.
That was, unexpected.
All right. Yeah, sick of your shit. I know, right? My poor himbo Omni man. Gotta admit though, dude's got a really good mustache.
Believes me, but there's definitely a ghost in my house. Anybody over there good at exorcisms or whatever?
Boy time! Water! Boy time.
You're, sweating again?
Am I? That tracks.
Hey team, Blazer's doing a speech over at the college, and one of you will be there to hear it.
I like being useful.
Alright. How did you guys do with de-escalating? Alright. Perfect.
I'm stacking mad dubs today, baby.
Ah, I guess it wasn't actually Phenomenon. Just some cosplayers making trouble, like they always do. Damn cosplayers. I'm gonna up your mobility instead. There we go.
Malevola feels like you're our best shot.
You are right on, mate. If there is spooky shit going on, I will sniff it right out. Don't mention it. Seriously, don't.
Verdict, not haunted. Alright, gonna need guys, one of you guys to just come out early.
Fresh as a daisy.
Re-election's coming up and we're hosting a little roast of the mayor. An SDN hero would really round out our guest list.
Alright, we're roasting the mayor. Fantastic. Those ding-donging cosplayers. Mm-hmm. It's a roast, but be smart. We don't want SDN. Man. Okay, I'm gonna have to send somebody smart as well.
You're not gonna like what you see anyway.
Going as fast as these legs will let me.
Oh, there's a full-on gang war. This isn't gonna go well.
Alright, I know a shortcut for this guy's backyard.
Whoa, did you guys hear Vanderstank and his wife got divorced?
Finally. I was beginning to believe Vanderstank's wife lacked both taste and sense.
Oh god, Vanderstank got a divorce. He's gonna make the robot uprising happen.
Hey, maybe she's not going to hell after all.
Marrying someone can send you to hell.
Yeah, but only if you marry a billionaire.
Marrying somebody can send you to hell, but only if you marry a billionaire. Words to live by.
I work better alone.
Golem expands to fill each empty slot, increasing his stats by 25% per slot up to 200% when beneficial. Okay. Hell yeah. Let's do it. Oh, 65%. Ah.
We lose focus, we die. Understood?
Oh, that's right. I gave her the second piece.
After a lifetime
Second chance thing. Yes.
I'm glad to have found a worthy partner.
Hey, it's an honor.
Vanderstank gonna become codpiece. He's like the Elon Musk of this world. let's see. Oh, only 27%. This isn't gonna go well. Get it?
Fuck that noise.
Mr. Vanderstank is requesting assistance. His line of delivery bots appear to have gained sentience and are attacking the city.
I'm sorry, his line of delivery bots have done what? Are you absolved of your spanking from earlier? No, I still need to spank you.
Ma'am? Okay, you have to stop calling me that.
Robbery downtown. Suspect is in pursuit, but we need SDN to defrost the bank.
Roleplay as the hero that was foretold.
Faction of Darkness! That's a good band name.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a tiny man inside Mega Man.
Are you
Oh
disappointed?
shit, I messed that up.
Ta-da!
Alright, got the bots. Got the bots. Good job, Waterboy.
I'm good. I can go.
An opportunity for Flambe to burn shit, and he ain't even here.
Might take a while, but you could try chipping away at the ice.
Swift as the night, sharp as my knife. Your confidence, Robert, as always, is deeply appreciated.
Listen, it was bring your kid to work day, and I thought he could
Just
try
bring
using
your
the
kid to
forklift.
work day. I'm sorry. You did what? You put your kid behind the wheel of... Damn it.
Yeah, let me finish this taco. Oh,
Next.
Damn it.
I'm unbreakable.
Uh-oh, got it. Alright.
Vanderstank wants them destroyed, but I think there's a way to reprogram them.
This is the job for me.
Really don't think it is, but we're just gonna have to help you. If it must be done, yes, it must be done. It's alright. You just need to take your spanking like a good boy. I'm not gonna be able to make it.
Yo, who got the snacks?
I thought you said you had it.
No, that was me.
Night, everyone. Oh, I'm pretty fucking beat. I'll see your dumbasses in the morning.
I've got the booze. Folks down for a carpool? I got room.
Shotgun.
I would like a ride. I'll bring extra towels.
Oh, but of course we will. You don't have to worry. Alright, I'm gonna get all of his main stats. Oh, I maxed out a hero. So rank 10 is as high as they can go. Oh, still
All in a
nailed it.
day's, shifts. No. All in a work. All in a work. You get it, right?
Why is Waterboy so adorable? Wait, what got flagged? I'm gonna have to tweak the settings, because there's no reason you should be getting flagged this much. You're not even saying anything that bad. Oh, yes.
Another day saved, or whatever the fuck.
If you're trying to impress me, it's working.
Oh, yes. I am now an official dispatcher. Bring a hero back from down. So I guess Twitch doesn't like chatters being horny in chat. Damn. Unfortunate. I like it.
I mean, you know, it feels like for the first time in a long time, I can see a life without Mecha Man. You know, which I'm sure you would appreciate. Been nice that we get to spend more time together, right? The Z team might fuck up for a while, but at some point, they're gonna get good. And when that happens, they'll make a bigger impact than I ever could alone. But just
no
when I
need to be
feel
sorry. You're
like I
not
got a
doing
handle
anything
on
wrong.
Got it figured out.
Automod is
Think
just
about Chase,
a little sensitive.
and my
I
dad, and
guess.
Shroud. Then I get all fucked up.
You know what I'm saying, Beef? You know what I mean?
You get a good. Oh my god, the puppy just farted.
Yeah, exactly. See, this
I
is
know,
why
right?
Appreciator talks.
Like VTuber chats are all horny. Ooh, it's Malevola. Awesome.
Are you decent?
Definitely a house that needs some warmth.
Yeah, I told him that the last time I came. Somehow it looked worse.
I am in my underwear.
I can see you. I was joking when I asked if you're decent.
I know. I just need you to know that I know how I look right now.
That rubs out, by the way. You just have to put a little muscle into it. Do you know where you want to hang this?
Why are you holding a lamp?
I think he's only considered where he'd hang himself. That corner seems fine. It's a housewarming gift for your housewarming party, Robert. I told people to bring a lamp or something.
Wait. People? More people are coming here? To my home.
Aw, they're throwing him a housewarming party.
Not what it looks like to me with your tidy whities.
Okay, she just touched my...
This is your family photo area? Kind of morbid.
Sorry guys, need to ban the bot. Are you saying we can roleplay full penetration in chat? I mean, maybe. It's something for private DMs. That is true. I mean,
which I'm kind of into.
Don't
Is that my work computer?
don't demonetize me before I even start making money.
Again.
After your little premature Jack explosion, I had this feeling like I'd seen it before.
Then Vizzy asked me to get the energy reading we got this morning and cross-reference with recent calls.
Wait. It's not destroyed?
Nope. And a bunch of B-grade villains have been trying to unlock its power only to end up blowing their asses off like you did. Then they sell it on the next sucker and the same shit. It's passed hands at least 4 times that we've tracked.
How does Shroud not know this?
Yeah, probably think like us. I think it was destroyed. But he's a smart fucker, and he gonna figure it out soon enough.
That's why we get to it first.
Right, so these guys stole the astral pulse, and they've just been blowing themselves up
We track its location. They'll know
With
who
it
has it.
repeatedly.
And we kick in some doors, knock some heads, snatch that shit back, and you'll be pulsing or whatever in no time.
Regardless of how this plays out, thank you, both of you. I'm just, I can't remember the last time someone did something so...
Oh damn, I was just trying to thank you.
Get gushy after we find the shit.
So, one of the last pings that we got was from a boat over here in Marina del Rey. Which is?
Oh, Yachty territory.
Why, she's here first. You know much about those guys?
Old money crew of ascot wearing cokeheads. Skylar Arcadia runs it now. 3 generations that family's been trying to...
Ascot wearing
What are they accusing you of?
I like them.
You're cute.
We're gonna ask you some questions about a piece of tech they moved. But first, Rob gotta put on pants.
Aw, what? But then I can't do this.
Yep, right on there.
Malevolo is kind of adorable. You know, she reminds me a lot of Karlak from Baldur's Gate 3. Which in almost every playthrough was my romance. Because Karlak is the biggest cinnamon roll ever. No wonder I like Malevolo, right? I like this whole dance scene. I really do enjoy that they're treating Robert a lot better now. Black Einstein's angry.
You do understand how projectors work, right?
Felt more dramatic. And bare walls are a sign of depression.
Why is it always a warehouse by the docks?
It's where stuff comes in and stuff goes out. Not a rocket scientist, are ya?
No, that was my dad. What kind of security are you dealing with?
That's where it gets tricky.
Shit.
That's more than shit. You need a fucking army.
I'll go. Can't shoot what you can't see.
Look, this is really great work, but doing this tonight is out of the question. Hitting a secure location like this is something they would handle downtown.
Are you kidding? There's enough firepower in this room to take down a fucking kaiju.
Bunch of drunk-ass Z-teamers, please. Y'all wouldn't make
Bunch
it
of drunk-ass
No one's asking you
Z-teamers.
to do a goddamn thing, okay?
Hey, no need for that. We take the day to plan it with downtown and hit the warehouse tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night? This thing's not gonna sit still for that long. If we don't grab it, someone else will.
This is incredible, Viz, but Laser's right. We make a plan. No need to rush this.
There's no guarantee it'll be there tomorrow. We need to go now.
She said no. You understand that word, or has it got too many fucking syllables for you?
Why don't you go walk your ass around a mall, Grandpa? Heroes are talking.
You are no fucking hero.
Whoa, hey!
She named you Invisigal, you named yourself Invisibitch, and you had it fucking right.
Chase, you're drunk. You need to stop talking.
You want to get people hurt? get people fucking killed, then you need to go back to the team where you belong.
Chase, that's enough.
This is crazy.
She thinks she's like you, but she's not. Robert doesn't need to keep going out there with no powers, putting his life on the line to make up for assholes like you. He doesn't need to be Mecha Man to be a hero. You playing them, you playing yourself. You think you're invisible, but I fucking
Man, this
see.
is
You don't know anything about me.
I know you're a liar, criminal. I know you're fucking dangerous. What else do I need to know?
a bit of a fucking angry situation.
Now I know you're a coward.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Busy! Wait!
That was a nice
You know?
uppercut. That bitch sent his ass airborne. How are you not dead?
So, we doing shots now, or what?
Chase already had his.
That's enough for tonight. I'm sorry this turned into... whatever just happened. Anyone who utters one word about what happened tonight fucking answers to me. Got it?
That's what they make strap-ons for.
Visigal.
Yeah, so I might have to do that once a month or so as a release of my hatred for you. But perhaps with some time, you'll be less of a bitch to me. Yeah, we'll see.
Really need to get Flambe killed somehow.
Your place fucking sucks.
Sir, you can't park there. That's the red zone. Thought you went home.
Came back to apologize. All these goddamn apartments look the same. That guy watching us from the balcony walked into his house thinking it was yours. Sorry about that. Fuck you!
Hey, he said he was sorry.
Well, fuck you too!
Okay, let's just...
Sorry about that. Fuck you!
You sure this ain't vodka?
She told you?
Made quite a first impression. Didn't know you were into spitting in people's mouths. Kinky shit. It's that
Hey,
internet.
spitting in
Somehow
people's
makes
mouths
sex
is
porn.
fun.
Okay, now you sound how you look.
Another thing I can't do anymore. Fuck. Maybe it's why I say the word so much.
You're all wired up for your
Sorry,
sleep study.
I hadn't thought about that.
I had a pretty good run. You ever think about why we do what we do? Help people.
Nice, nice.
Put it all on the line for someone who won't ever know your name, won't send you a thank you card, won't be at your bedside when you get hurt.
It's just the right thing to do.
Sure. And you think the Z team will be able to tell the difference?
Yes, I do.
The first week, Izzy was gonna walk off the team. You know, she's feeling low, talking about how she was born with powers that always meant she'd end up as a villain. Like he was fated. So, obviously, I gave her the pep talk, you know. Like,
Now Kaiser's licking people in
make up
chat.
your own fate, yada yada. I don't even remember what I said.
Not
but
very
I
good,
do remember
boy.
thinking, oh, fuck. Yeah, that must have been hard. Like if I didn't have you, you know, and my dad, where would I have ended up?
You were always good. That was always in you. It's what makes us different from a thief like her.
Oh, come on. You've stolen things too.
What? You racist motherfucker. I never stole a fucking thing in my entire fucking life.
Chase.
You racist
you literally
motherfucker,
stole
I've never
things.
stolen a thing.
Oh yeah, but that doesn't count. That was for somebody else.
That's alright. I have that effect
Quietly
on bunnies.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't considered some things. But I think the answers are out there if you just listen to the wind.
I see why you and Beef get along.
I love
Oh,
Chase.
where's my guy? Oh, I'm sorry, my poor boy. That's it. There's my boy. There's my good boy. Who's a good boy? Beef is.
Visigal is going to go.
Is there a
Holy shit.
Hey! Hey, can you hear me? The fuck are you doing?
Oh, not much. Just looking for your stupid ass pulse that's somewhere on this big ass boat. This one must have dropped a pin in the supervillain group chat, because this place
I know, right?
is full with dipshits. Good news is
He didn't have a healthy relationship with his actual father, but at least Chase is,
you're disappointed, I'm
is a
disappointed.
good
I'm sure
guy.
Chase will have some shit to talk, but I'm here, and this is our last chance of getting this thing.
Okay, maybe if I can.
How did you fuck up so badly?
Signal. Check the manifest.
Your power is literally going invisible.
Yeah, let's start with something.
Alright, let's hacker man our way in here.
Fuck you. Shit, I need a password.
Upright. Password is upright.
Hey, I'm getting a huge energy reading coming from the captain's quarters.
Right, and I'm supposed to know where that is?
See that tower?
The biggest one. It's at the top. Oh, perfect. So you want me to cross this active battlefield?
Look, I
How
didn't want
perfect.
to do
You want me to cross this active battlefield? Bitch, I didn't even ask you to go there.
Keep your eyes peeled for Visibit. Looks like she might know something we don't.
I'm sorry, was that guy's name Whippersnapper?
Oh, hey, there's a door to your left.
Fuck, it's locked. Feel free to take your time. Just catching up with some old friends.
Oh shit.
That's right. I think I can use this.
Hurry up!
Left, upright.
Almost got it.
Alright, door lock overridden, there we go. Eating some ass.
What the fuck?
Oh, damn. I think she just murdered that guy.
This fucking guy.
Okay, hey, Izzy.
Didn't he, though?
Better be a good one.
Follow me,
Oh,
Featherdick.
shit.
I got something real cool to show you. At the tower. Do your thing.
Working on it.
Work faster!
I'm really trying, I really am. Alright, making my way through these.
Busy. Cover your ears.
I like how all of this is going on and Chase is just sitting there,
Is that what
lavishing
Bruce Wayne
attention on the dog.
Busy, look out behind
Could
you.
not give a fuck less.
Fuck me. How am I supposed to get around that?
Look, hey, just worry about not dying. I'll find your way around.
Oh man, that dude's power set is cool.
God, why does the crane have the hardest controls? Don't mind me, just passing through.
Alright, left, right. Shit.
Fuck me, they're minding me.
Oh, damn it. Left, right.
Now the crane.
Alright, got it.
Heads up, lights here.
Damn, this girl's kind of a badass. You just fling her ass up to the captain's quarters.
Tell us where the pulse is, Invisibitch, before we go full Pompeii on your ass.
Full Pompeii on my ass? What kind of threat is that? You gonna give me diarrhea?
Wait, no!
You're gonna give me diarrhea?
Where the fuck is this thing? Because that's not gonna hold him for long.
It's in the safe.
A safe? I don't know how to open a fucking safe.
Fuck. Alright, let me see what I can do. I'd say this was excessive, but...
Just hurry up! They're almost through the door!
Hell. Oh, damn it. And this one is this one's a difficult one. Ah, shit. Whatever, I got it.
Oh, you fucking... Oh, yes.
Alright, got it.
Alright.
Safe's open. Is it in there?
I don't know. Does it look like a little glowy butt plug?
You know what? I guess it does. Okay.
So now all you gotta do is sneak past the...
Why did stop?
Oh shit.
Holy shit, are they? Robert,
Oh
what's going
shit.
on?
I'm here. Just hang on. Trying to get the
She's
camera.
gonna end up getting kidnapped.
I see you. You're good. Just take one step at a time.
She's either gonna end up getting kidnapped or they're going to kill her.
No. Hey, Lizzie, stay calm. Your inhaler, it's...
A few feet in front of you, okay? You gotta get to it.
Oh, fuck.
Hey, Lizzie, he's just gonna keep fucking with you, but you don't give up, okay?
Oh, don't do this to me, man.
Lizzie, you
hurt
gotta
Lizzie.
fight. Please. Lizzie, hey, listen to me. You get up. Get up! Keep up. No!
You're good.
Ah, damn. Chase is gonna die now, isn't he? This is just gonna rip my heart apart. Ah.
Where's my fucking keys?
Oh, man. That was heartbreaking. Holy shit. Alright. You and 55% of players wanted to wait and make a plan to retrieve the Astral Pulse. 69% of players helped Invisigal locate the Astral Pulse. 67% of players danced with Invisigal. 19% of players saluted with the Mecha Man suit. You and 20%. Damn, only 20% managed to reprogram the delivery bots. And lost the mole people to the Red Ring. 12% of players did not come to the rescue of the Faction of Light. What the hell are you talking about? Most sent hero was Punch Up. Go Jacksepticeye. I performed better than 30% of players in today's shift, which means I didn't perform very well at all. Kind of sucked. Barely succeeded on its call 2 times. Alright, everybody. Well, that was a lot of fun. And damn, that was quite a cliffhanger there. Kind of heartbroken. I really hope Chase doesn't end up dying. Oh man. Uh, well, thank you, Madman with a Box. I appreciate you coming here and watching this with me. I appreciate all of you coming here. This was I'm really enjoying this. I like playing for you guys. I like just getting to hang out and chat. It's really fun. But that will be all we can do this episode, I'm sorry to say. We definitely got far, and after this, there are 2 more episodes left. So, my next stream will be going over the grand finale and trying to make our way through it. I will indeed message you later, and I really appreciate you coming too, Tess. Drakenhunter, Sturmwolf, I hope you managed to sleep well in your lab. I know it's difficult when there are a bunch of people watching you and having wires strapped to you all the time, that sleeping in a sleep lab is a little difficult. But I hope you manage it. I definitely will, Kaiser. Thank you. Thank you for coming back too. I really appreciate you hanging out, even if it's on even if you had to go on mobile. But remember, Kaiser, you have to be a good boy. Okay, be a good boy. I definitely think so too. I really like the streaming thing, actually. It's fun just getting to hang out and talk with people and play some cool games together. So I appreciate it, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Probably on Friday. Good. All right. Well, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.